Can you hear me, Joe? We're just telling about it, but maybe this whole government shutdown and everything is affecting people. Who knows? But whatever. Let's get rolling. Let's see what happens. Hey everyone, welcome to the first week of the Thanksgiving box. It's our annual tradition here. Every October, I put together a Thanksgiving box. These are kind of like the bottles I'm excited to bring to Thanksgiving table this year. And then, yeah, let's be real. It's just a selfish way for me to figure out what wines I want to drink for Thanksgiving this year. And then you guys are just all helping me put it all together. So here we are. But anyways, there are no rookies this month, so don't need to go over all the rules and different things, which means there are 5 of us, which means each one of you should take one section and just do the tasting today. I think that makes sense. Anyways, Case Scout goes live tomorrow. So these are all the wines that we tasted last month, all the Central European stuff. And so if you're interested in participating in that, keep your eye out for that email. But yeah, that's pretty much all the announcement that I have. Do you folks have any questions about anything? Cool. Just so you know, I mean, I said this in the email in case you didn't get a chance to read that. So all 4 bottles, I think, if you just open any one of these on a Thanksgiving table, I think they'd be fantastic, honestly. That's usually kind of like how I think about, when I'm thinking about putting together a Thanksgiving box, which is fun. It's a lot of fun, honestly. It's one of the boxes I really look forward to putting together every year. Because it's like one of the locations where I like really kind of think about pairing options, how to play with different flavors and what could possibly work, but I'm not also limited to one area. I can pull from like many different places. So it's really fun for me. But the way I think about it is kind of threefold. One is like, are these wines all delicious and pair well with the kind of like the overall flavors profile of Thanksgiving table, right? So usually they are pretty high in acid. I mean, high acid is almost any wine that I pick, but particularly for Thanksgiving I think is really important to make it more versatile with many different styles of different things, different foods. So does it belong on the Thanksgiving table in terms of pairing? 2, usually these are bottles that in one way or another tell some sort of a story that's a little bit outside the box. It could be something very traditional. People may recognize, like Lambrusco, right? If you name Lambrusco, most people will probably know what that is, or at least have a preconceived notion of what that is like. But I usually tend to take it a little bit outside the box and just put together different varieties and regions. I just think the bottles that kind of like be a good conversation starter is a good bottles to have at Thanksgiving. Because let's be real, who wants to sit at a fucking table and talk about politics and religion with your family member for hours? You need a wine to maybe break it all up. So, so there's that. And then the third and finally, it's just kind of like I don't know about you all, but Thanksgiving is like one of those days where I like spend all day just kind of like cooking and eating and drinking all day. So I kind of organize it in a way. So the order that we're tasting it this month is the order that I want to open these on Thanksgiving Day. So I'll probably start that morning of Thanksgiving Day with what we're tasting today. And then I'll probably have like a cheese and charcuterie, like a snack wine that I drink in the middle of the day. And the 2 bottles that I want to bring to the actual table where I drink is usually red and white, but it doesn't have to be. Sometimes it's rosé. But so things like that. Sorry, my camera is going out of focus. But again, you don't have to do it that way. If you want to just think of it as all 4 of them on the Thanksgiving table, that's fine too. And also, why is my camera acting up? Sorry. How about now? There you go. There you go. All right. So in case you're just joining us now, we're tasting this guy. We're starting off with the only bubble that we got, the shorty, the fatty, the 2017 Cantina della Volta BrutRosso Lambrusco di Sorbara is what we're tasting today. In case you're wondering, I recognize this bottle, recognize the producer's name. It's because you should. This is the 3rd time we're featuring this producer. I mean, it's just so good. Their wines are just so good. they do an amazing job. And every time I taste their different bottling, and they make many different bottlings, but every time I taste one of theirs, I'm like, this is really fucking good. And not only is it good, but this particular bottle, as soon as I tasted it, I actually really struggled to decide whether I'm going to put this in the New Year's Eve sparkling box or put it in the Thanksgiving box. But ultimately, I decided to put it in the Thanksgiving box just because pairing wise, I think this is the wine is like meant for the Thanksgiving table. I mean, just, there's so much cranberry, tart cherry, just the flavor wise, it is just meant for Thanksgiving table. So, cool. So let's start with the map. If you have a photographic memory, and by the way, and remember the Lambrusco box that we did last year, I believe, middle of last year, you may remember a lot of things that I'm about to talk about. Otherwise, it's just a review. But anyways, so this wine comes from Emilia Romagna, which is right here. So it's in this area right here, south of Veneto, next to Tuscany, next to Liguria. As you can see, it kind of spans quite a bit. It's a large area. It's a large wine producing area. I mean, so there's an Apennine mountain range. By the way, this mountain range runs all the way from north of Italy, going all the way to the south. It's basically kind of like the backbone of Italy. But there's an Apennine mountain that runs right here that separates Bologna, Emilia-Romagna, and Liguria. But if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for Liguria, this was really, we are talking about spanning all the way from pretty much the west coast of Italy, going all the way to the east coast, diagonally running. So we're talking about a pretty large area in terms of land mass. And as we learned in Lambrusco, if you remember, obviously Emilia-Romagna is everybody associated with Lambrusco, and when you think about Lambrusco, you think about Emilia-Romagna, but the laws around Lambrusco is not all that tight. It's quite relaxed, and the Lambrusco can be made outside of Emilia-Romagna. In fact, there's some Lambrusco being made in Tuscany, the parts of Tuscany. There's parts of it being made in Liguria. So Emilia-Romagna is not the only place that produces Lambrusco, but when you're talking about Lambrusco, really it's Emilia-Romagna. I mean, the vast majority of them, Lambrusco you find in the world is from Emilia-Romagna. In my opinion, this is where the best kind of Italian food comes from, where like all the delicious Italian exports that we think about, I feel it's all pretty much here, right? Like Parmigiano Reggiano, it comes from Parma, which is a city right up here in northern part of Emilia-Romagna, which is an Emilia part. And then if you think about balsamic vinegar, Modena, that's what they're known for, right? Bologna, Bolognese sauce, which literally in Italian means of Bologna. I mean, we're talking about what's in all the greatest hits of Italian culinary exports pretty much is right here. So I've never been here. If anybody is going here, please let me know, because it sounds amazing, because I want to really go there. But yeah, sounds delicious, sounds fun, sounds amazing. Despite being like a rich, delicious place, the wines here are not exactly all that remarkable, to tell you the truth. There are 2 DOCGs, which are the highest level of Italian wine classification system here. Romagna, Albana DOCG, as well as Colli, Bolognese, Pignoletto DOCG. Those are the only 2 DOCGs that exist in all of Emilia-Romagna, this huge landmass, yet there are only 2 DOCGs, as opposed to, right, like if you go just up north, right here in Piedmont, I mean, we're talking about, I think there are 23 DOCGs up there. So, just to give you an idea of how much the wine here is not a focus of the area, despite being like this really incredibly delicious place. Even then, honestly, and I'm probably going to get a whole bunch of shit from Italians, especially if you are from Emilia-Romagna region, but these 2 DOCGs is kind of like a, true Italian sense, just kind of like a political, like a bribery situation. Like really, they don't deserve to get a DOCG, but like somehow they like push themselves, probably through a lot of bribes, to get themselves DOCG status. So like Romagna Arbana, Arbana is a native grape that grows a white grape. It's really not that interesting. I've had it before. It's pretty neutral, oxidizes really easily, doesn't age very well. But I will say they have a pasito style, which is essentially like a sweet dessert wine made from a dried up like raisin grapes version of Romagna Urbana. That one is okay. That one I give you some credit, but outside of that, really unremarkable. And same thing with the Colli Bolognese Pignoletto. They're the latest one, got DOCG in 2011. Kind of a tart, high acid, dry varietal wine, but made from Brachetto grape, but really not all that exciting. So again, not really something to look out for if you are like really interested in learning about Emilia-Romagna wines, and then you see these 2 DOCGs, you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna check them out. I mean, by all means do so, but don't build up your hopes too high because they're not all that great. The only 15% of the region's wine is a DOC or DOCG level, the government control level. So most of the wines that comes from here is pretty much a commodity bulk wine. The Po River, which is this river right here, that runs all the way from Piedmont, running all the way through the northern part, and then dumps out into the Adriatic here, right? This river, and then just the south of it is basically Emilia-Romagna, you see, which is the Emilia part, which is the northern part of Emilia-Romagna. So northern part is Emilia, southern part is Romagna. These 2 regions used to be 2 separate kind of regions during the Roman times. But in the recent times, in the modern days, they have actually combined into one administrative region. So now with the name Emilia, hyphenated Emilia-Romagna. But back in the days, in the Roman times, it used to be 2 separate regions. Emilia being the north and then Romagna being the south. And culturally, culinarily, wine-wise, all of that is actually quite distinct. They're not exactly the same, and we'll talk about that in a second. But anyways, in this part, the northern part, Emilia, just the south of Po, obviously being a river alluvial kind of valley, the soil here is incredibly, incredibly fertile. That's why this is like a really big agricultural region of Italy, and it's part of the reason why everything that's delicious from Italy is made here, because it makes the best cheese, it makes the best, fruit, and all the things that come from here. Beautiful agricultural products, beautiful dairy products, all come from that really fertile soil that is a result of this Po River that runs through. But as we all know, grapes don't actually like growing in a really fertile soil. In fact, they really like to struggle. The best kind of fine wines are grown in a really infertile, really inorganic kind of soil, kind of like rock beds, right? So again, not really known for wine, more for agricultural product, and not a huge focus on quality wine here. A lot more for quantity. It's kind of like a Central California wine region where it's like this fertile soil, so everything grows well. The yield is great, the quantity is great, but the quality is not so great. In fact, the sales rep that sold me this wine is actually from Wisconsin, and I was talking to her, and she was recently in Emilia-Romagna for a wine trip, and she was saying that particularly this Emilia part up north, and obviously with the exception of places like Parma, Modena, and Bologna, which is like this, cultural iconic cities and really beautiful and all of that. But as soon as you get out of these cities, these kind of rural part countryside of Emilia reminds her a lot of her home in Wisconsin, just kind of dairy land, farmland. In fact, I think I may have a picture of it that just kind of, this is kind of what Emilia looks like. So not exactly what you think of as a incredible wine country. This just looks like a farmland essentially. Maybe this is what Lubbock looks like, Julia David, but this is what the you're like, no, that's even being generous for Lubbock. But yeah, this is what Emilia looks like just outside of those big cities. It's just gigantic, expansive farmland essentially. Whole region is really flat, but however, I wanted to show you this after that. Well, let me go back to the map. So all that is really flat, gigantic farmland. But remember, I talked about the Apennine Mountain, which is just essentially what divides Liguria and Emilia-Romagna. So once you start getting up in these hillsides, where the slopes start to come in, you start getting some elevation. This is where the best kind of the sites, vineyard sites for Lambrusco come from. So for example, this actual vineyard where the fruit for this wine comes from looks like this. So like compare this to this, right? Like two completely different topography. So a lot of hillside, different angle, different aspects, different UV rays, and a lot of different things can happen. This is at about 2,300 feet above sea level. So it's got some elevation, it's got some cooling effect. So this is where the best kind of the vineyards come from once you start getting into this Apennine mountain that runs up here. And the same thing both up in north as well as south. So up in north in Emilia, this is the Lambrusco territory. This is really where a lot of Lambrusco is made, up in north in Emilia. Romagna on the south, you start to get into a lot more dry still wines. So you start to get some Trebbiano. By the way, I mean, there's some world-class Trebbiano that exists out there, but in general, Trebbiano, like, I feel like I'm just talking shit on Italian white wines a lot, but it's just kind of like a neutral, it's got some lemon, it's got some alcohol, maybe some rocks. Like it's just really not all that exciting. Again, there are some really world-class Trebbianos out there with some lees aging thrown in, with some skin contact that gets it really exciting and different. But in general, it's just a neutral white, and the Trebbiano is the same. Sangiovese, same thing here. In general, pretty light, kind of a quaffable Sangiovese is made here, unless you start getting up in the hillside down here, then you start getting some good, actually quite good Sangiovese that are coming up here. Makes sense getting closer to Tuscany, right? The king, the home of arguably the best Sangiovese in the world. This is just across that mountain on the other side. This is actually a pretty fun one to do if you ever wanted to do horizontal, like a comparative tasting. Get a bottle of like Tuscany, Chianti, or Brunello, right, from Tuscany, and then get a bottle of Sangiovese from the hillside of Romagna, and then do a side-by-side tasting. Because the soil type here changes quite a bit here. So there's a lot more sand, a lot more clay that pops up on this side. So yeah, different kind of experience, fun thing to do if you want to get geeky with Sangiovese. Let's see. Like I mentioned, Ligalia and Lambrusco is quite relaxed, not only in terms of where they're allowed to be made. It's more like, it's like Cava, right? Cava is not only in Penedès and Catalonia, it can be made in Rioja and other places. It's really a legal description for the production method and the varieties that they use, rather than particular area that it's limited to. Same thing with Lambrusco. So not only can it be made in different parts, but also the production method itself is not super well regulated. Again, this area is really more for quantity than it is for quality. So Lambrusco gets a really bad rap in America. I mean, justifiably so, I would say, especially in the 70s and 80s, a lot of the Lambrusco that made it into the States was kind of like a glorified, sweet, just sparkling grape juice. Kind of like imagine, what's that, like a bar mitzvah wine, Manischewitz. Like imagine if that was like sparkling. It's like a lot of that was that. So really not something that you get super excited about. But as most of you learn by now, especially after the Lambrusco box, there are incredible good Lambruscos out there. And yeah, and this producer particularly is our third time making a third return to the wine club. And I think, in my opinion, one of the best Lambrusco producers for sure. Climate here is quite continental, hot and humid in the summer, cold and wet in the wintertime. Temperature varies quite widely between summer and wintertime. Like I mentioned, the region is divided into two different parts. So Emilia up on the north, all the basically the cities that you recognize, right? Parma, Modena, Bologna, all in Emilia, and Romagna in the south. The north is considered much more kind of a cultured, elegant, refined. I mean, quite frankly, it's just because they have more money. All that kind of wealth from agriculture industries kind of ended up building out a lot more infrastructures and just, made the region flourish a lot more. So it's up here. And then Romagna is considered a lot more rustic. It's a lot more woodsy, a lot hillier. So yeah, that's the south and that's the north, and it's a little bit quite different. And I mentioned earlier how even, despite this being the same, one region is quite different between Emilia and Romagna, not only in terms of money and infrastructure, but cuisine-wise, it's also quite different. So if you come up here in the north, with all that dairy, with all that farmland, the food here is much richer. So you see a lot of use of pork, a lot of cheese, a lot of richness of cream. Tortellini comes from Bologna, right? Modena, like, everything that we want. Uh, Incredible butter. All that is up on north, really rich and decadent kind of a cuisine up here, and a lot of meat. And then as you come down south to Romagna, especially as you get closer to Adriatic, you start to see a lot more fish and seafood, and the food here tends to be a lot simpler and a lot more kind of rustic, so to speak. So very different region. And like I said, I'm dying to go here. I've never been here, but the idea of traveling through this region, experiencing that kind of like a culinary transfer to switch from seafood based to like rich food, and seeing different, how the same region could be so different. I think it would be really fun to do. So again, if any of you ever go out there, please let me know, because I'm not going. Right, let's talk about who makes this wine. Okay, this is the third time we're looking at this picture, but this is Christian Ballet, which is the owner and the winemaker. He's a fourth generation Ballet family from Modena, or just outside of Modena. Their town is called Bomporto. It's like 10 minutes north of Modena. The family winery was founded in 1920. Again, like I said, it's literally 10 minutes north of Modena. Christian and his father, Giuseppe, were the ones that really started the kind of the revolution in Modena, Lambrusco, the revolution, so to speak. They have always produced and loved the Lambrusco. Fourth generation, so Giuseppe's dad, so Christian's grandfather, as well as a great-grandfather, they all made Lambrusco. But Giuseppe and Christian had a particular affinity for method champenois wines, or traditional method wines, but particularly they had affinity for champagne. I mean, who could blame them, right? So they actually visited Epernay, which is the capital of Champagne region, and to really learn method champenois and then what champenois do to their wines. So they made multiple trips out there, studied under some producers they really respected a lot. And then after a while, they returned back to Bomporto to make Lambrusco using method champenois. You may be asking at this point that, then how was Lambrusco made? If this is all, why is that so revolutionary? But back in the days, and quite frankly, even till now, it used to be, but truly old school traditional Lambrusco is method ancestral. So it's the same way the Pennat is made. So it's a singular fermentation that's inside the bottle. So you start fermenting the grape before you ferment out completely dry. You put it in the bottle, let it finish fermenting inside the bottle. All the gas gets trapped inside the bottle and becomes sparkling. So that's how Pennat's made. That's how method ancestral is, and that's how Lambrusco used to be made. But these days, almost all, I'm talking like probably 99%. I don't know that number exactly, but I'm willing to bet almost all Lambrusco is made in Charmat method, or tank method, which is a method that Prosecco is made in. Right? It is indeed two different fermentations, but the second fermentation takes place inside of a gigantic tank, like oftentimes stainless steel tank. And then it's not really aged much long on the lees, and it's all about just kind of fruitiness, immediate consumption. As soon as the second fermentation is done, it's filtered, bottled, and sold off. So that's how usually it's made. So that's why it is kind of revolutionary that nobody really started doing method champenois, or traditional method, in Lambrusco until Giuseppe and Christian started making that. So let me get out of this thing so you guys are not just staring at his face. And I don't know if this is still true, but I don't know if you guys remember that very first bottle of a Cantina della Volta that we featured, that I think it was a Christmas box, that bottle with the red foil that we all fucking loved. So when we featured that, they were the only producer in all of Emilia Romagna that made all of their Lambrusco 100% traditional method. So I don't know if that's still true, but at least that was true when I featured that. Just to give you an idea of how in love, or how much they're in love with the traditional method. In some ways, so what like the wines that we're tasting, what the wines we have tasted from them, as was the wine we're tasting today, is not a typical Lambrusco because no one else is really doing method champenois because everybody makes method ancestral and Charmat method. But yeah, that's what we got. In 1981, Giuseppe, Christian's dad, bought the 31-hectare farm with a 9-hectare dedicated to viticulture, and it's about 2,100 feet above sea level. In the 90s, they started putting out these Method Champenois, Lambrusco, and started attracting awards and attention and started really grabbing people's attention. In 2000, Christian took over, continued to experiment and refine the traditional method on their Lambrusco. And in 2010, they rebranded the family winery to Cantina della Volta. And Christian has been running it solo since 2010. By the way, in case you're wondering what Cantina della Volta means, where their Christian's great-grandfather built the winery is at the end of a ship's like a turning around point. It's called Volta, with Volta in Italian. So it's named Cantina della Volta because it's right at the end of a ship's turning point. And that's why there's also a ship on the label. That drawing on the top of the label is a sail ship or sailboat. Christian is the only one, or is the one that who really took bold steps in converting all families to organic farming, not only organic farming, but they actually got to certified. And then he's the one who actually decided to let go of all the production method and dedicate solely to traditional method. Christian's dad, Giuseppe, when they were starting out, they're going to Champagne, learning it, coming back and playing around with it, experimenting around with it at home. It was more of an experiment. At the end of the day, Giuseppe still had family to feed. He's got livelihood to look out for. So most of the wines that they made were still Lambrusco made in ancestral and Charmat method, but they dedicated some to making it a traditional method as an experiment. But once Christian took over, he decided to let go of all the others and just solely focus on making their Lambrusco in a traditional method. And I would say it's paying off handsomely because their wines are incredible. Despite Lambrusco's more kind of pedestrian reputation, their sparkling wines are, in my opinion, truly world class. I mean, regarded by many as some of the finest Lambrusco produced, but honestly, in my opinion, I don't think just the Lambrusco. I think their wines are some of the finest sparkling wines produced in all of Italy. So just to give you an idea of how highly I think of their wines. And honestly, they're found in some of the best restaurants in the world. Some of you may be familiar with a chef named Massimo Bottura. He's a chef owner of Francescana, which was once ranked #1 restaurant in the world. It's in Modena, by the way. He's all over TV. It's all over Netflix. He's done a lot of shows with Dave Chang as well. Anyways, I think he had a Mind of a Chef episode dedicated to him on Netflix as well, if you want to learn more about this restaurant and him. Anyway, he's from Modena, which is just 10 minutes off of where this winery is. But yeah, they have Christian's wines on their list. 2 years ago, when I was in Friuli, Slovenia, at that border, a lot of restaurants that I went to had these wines on the menu. But yeah, oftentimes Lambrusco is kind of treated as this kind of like a party juice, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. You all know how much I love party juice. But to see a producer treat it with like such respect and like take it to the heights that like no one ever thought was possible is pretty amazing to watch. It's really kind of like a dedication and figuring out how to make it even better than it's already been. So pretty cool stuff. All right. So what is this wine? This is 100% organic Lambrusco Sorbara, grown on calcareous clay chalk soil. Lambrusco Sorbara, probably my favorite Lambrusco variety. I will admit that I have not tasted all 60, yes, I mean 60 Lambrusco varieties that are out there. It would truly be a feat of a professional wino's career to taste through all 60 Lambrusco varieties. But in general, when you're talking about Lambrusco, there are three big ones that you're going to find. And don't worry, I don't have any kind of delusion that any of you remember all these three things from the Lambrusco box, even though we tasted all three of them in the Lambrusco box. I barely remember all three of them, so don't feel bad. But Sorbara is my favorite. Like I said, I think it produces, I mean, it does produce the kind of lightest, brightest style of Lambrusco. It's lowest in tannin out of the three major grapes. So it's Sorbara, Gasparosa, and Salamino, if you remember. But Sorbara, I think, has the most elegant kind of fruit, floral, aromatic character. And probably this is why I like it the most, and you probably guessed it right, but it has the most amount of acid. It has the most amount of searing acid out of the three. And I like that about, and especially with the sparkling wine, more acid, the better. Gasparosa, on the other hand, tends to be much inkier, much darker, more tannic, more body, spicier, more fruit. It's just much bigger. It's just a much louder. Not that one is better than the other, but to me, Gasparosa is kind of like base notes. It's a ton of base notes, and then Sorbara is a bunch of treble notes, much lighter. So depends on your mood, depending on what you're eating. It all depends. And then Salamino is like kind of like in the middle. It kind of splits the difference. Is the way to look at it. Anyways, so this wine is 100% Lambrusco Sorbara. Fruit is gently pressed, followed by a 12-hour maceration on only the 55% of the must. So all that color that you're seeing here is only the 55%, just over half of the must saw the skin contact, 12 hours. Yeah, I mean, just to give you an idea of how much color you can extract from it, right? Like it's quite a bit of color, but it was all done in 12 hours with only half of the must. So anyway, that ruby color comes from that maceration. First fermentation is done in stainless steel tank. The base one is made in stainless steel tank. And then second fermentation in bottle, traditional method. By the way, I don't need to go over traditional method, right? Everybody knows what traditional method is, right? We don't need to go into that, right? Okay. By the way, if you are not sure, just let me know. And I'll be more than happy to go over that or send you an episode of recording where I do go over that. If anybody was watching the recording later and be like, hey, by the way, I could use a refresher on the traditional method. But anyways, method champenois, very typical. So second fermentation happens in the bottle. And this is where I'm not super convinced, but this seems to be the right thing. So the text sheet says this is 21 months on the lees. However, if you flip the bottle over and back, by the way, almost all method champenois, traditional method bottles will have disgorgement date on it. And this one does too. So it's in the back right here on the side. It says DEG, and it says March 2025. This is a 2017 vintage. So, which means this is 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and then some change till March. So we're talking about like over 7 years on the leads is what this bottle has seen. But there's so much like freshness. This is not even the most autolytic bottle that I've had from them. Maybe it's all that kind of like that maceration and the fruit is kind of covering. And like I would feel like I would still get a lot more autolytic coming out if this has spent 7.5 years on the lees. So I mean, I've reached out to the importer about it, and then he said, yeah, these were exact his words that he even said. Let's see. Anyways, yeah. So he said that's right. Like the disgorgement is right. Maybe texture is wrong. So I was like, I don't know. Maybe it is. But yeah, to me, this doesn't taste like a 7.5-year-old lease aging. But apparently it's right. Apparently they were actually going to hold off 2017 to release as a library series later, but they ran out of 2018, and rather than keeping the market just out of stock of their wine, they decided to release 2017, and that's why. And then they actually didn't raise the price; they kept it the same just to keep the market happy, is what my importer said. But anyways, we're gonna go with whatever they said is better. So we're going to go with this is 7.5 years on the lees, which is crazy. Just as a point of comparison, vintage champagne by law, and in practice, it goes much longer than that. But by law, they have to age the wine on these. Vintage champagne, not vintage, but vintage champagne has to age their wine on these for minimum 5 years. Oftentimes much longer, like I said, in practice. So we're essentially talking about a wine that is kind of treated like a vintage champagne here. Yet this is Lambrusco. And this is exactly why Cantina della Volta is pretty amazing, where you can get. All right, that's what I got. Any questions about anything that I just went over? Excellent. Let's taste the wine. Who wants to take the appearance?
We'll do it. Why not?
Excellent. Sorry.
We're outside in the dark.
We're outside. It's a little dark. Yeah, it's a little dark out here. But
Sorry.
I'll turn the light on.
That's
yeah. There we go.
That looks so nice. So outside and your jacket.
Yeah, the weather's it's actually turned, and DC has finally hit the a little bit of fall. Like, let's see. Okay. Clear.
Yeah. I'll call this weird.
Intensity, medium.
Yeah, I'll call this about medium.
Yeah, it's like it's got that kind of, you can see through a little bit. Let's see. Ooh, this was the lighting talking, so this will probably be a little off.
I'd say ruby.
Ruby, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this is about like textbook. There's really nowhere else to go. Yeah, I'm gonna call this ruby. And then any other observations?
Got some little bubbles.
Some little, yeah, definitely a nucleation, bubble nucleation going on at the bottom. So
yep, absolutely. So really tiny pinprick, consistent bubbles coming up. These are the kind of signs of a traditional method. Like if you ever get a Charmat method wine or one of the forced CO2 wines, like this kind of like small pinprick, consistent bubble, it just doesn't happen. It just kind of blows over. But this is really a sign of wines that have spent a lot of time under pressure. It's just been, the gas has melted into the wine quite a bit. It's also the very reason it doesn't go flat as fast as some of the other ones. Excellent, excellent. And, color-wise, this is kind of like the, interesting thing to call it, right? Like the name is BrutRosso, Brut meaning they talk about sugar level, and Rosso meaning red in Italian. So like, are they calling this like a sparkling red wine? So if you're like talking about rosé, this will probably be a pretty dark color, right? Pretty deep amount of color. But if we're talking about red wine, like I don't know. Obviously there are red wines that are also lighter than this. And, we've talked about this a lot. Like what is the dividing line? Like where does rosé stop and where does red wine start, But, but in terms of speaking of intensity, yeah, like I would still call this medium. I agree with your call, but I can totally see if somebody was like, well, if this was red, wouldn't it be, pale because you can totally see through it? Yeah, you would also be right on that. So,
yeah.
It almost has enough color to not be super pale for a red.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if it were a rosé, it'd be off the charts.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. There's some color up to this thing for sure. Excellent. You get to pick out the next person for the news.
Yeah, sorry we look weird because we have you on the TV. We got you on the big screen, so all the neighbors can see you behind us too with you doing whatever you're doing.
Excellent.
Given there are like, well, now there's an extra person here. Julie just joined. Or there's 3 of us. Any volunteers? 4 of us, I guess. 3 volunteers. No. Well, Joe, you're right below Un on our thing, so you've been having too much fun in Europe, so you get to go next.
Fair enough. Oh man, yeah, the notice on this one's kind of tough because I don't get like a lot off of it. To be honest, but let's see what we can do.
Turn up.
I'd say it's clean.
Wine is clean. Wine is sound. Intensity.
I call it light to medium minus, personally.
You know, I'm totally with you. I don't know if I go all the way to light because light is really like when you can't really smell anything. But yeah, like to me, like
Yeah,
I
it's
get
just
it.
kind of like a little in the background, you know.
Yeah. I do smell it like just off the here. So maybe it's still.
Yeah, I really got to
You
kind
might
of.
want to.
I kind of got to stick my beak in there.
Yeah, but it's not like super, like it's not jumping out of the glass in any way. I'll call this about medium, maybe like lower in the medium. I'm gonna call this medium intense aromas. Ooh, what do you got?
So I call this like a lot more red fruit. You can call it strawberry. You know, it's.
Yeah, I mean red fruit immediately, but anything up top like a floral, green, citrus, stone.
I feel germanium a little bit.
Yeah, I get a little bit of floral.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
get
a
some
little
sort of flavor.
like a touch. Yeah.
Yeah, not hugely floral. It's not a super floral wine, but like there's like a little prettiness up top, for sure.
Mhm.
Any green, any citrus?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't get much green. It's also, I'm interested, like why, I don't remember this wine being this muted on the nose, but you're totally right. Like mine also feels quite muted right now. But I remember thinking there was like a little bit like an orange peel when I first got it. And this is part of the reason why like my whole thought process about Thanksgiving wine went like orange, peel, cranberries, like kind of like that cranberry relish kind of a thing.
I'm drinking it super cold too, which is gonna.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that. Yeah, my wine's been. I pulled it just before the call, but But yeah, I remember getting a little orange peel. I can be convinced maybe there's a little orange, but yeah, they're muted right now. But yeah, red fruit. Talk to me about red fruit.
Yep. I don't know. It's hard to go much further than that. That's a.
Yeah. To me, this is like cranberry more than anything else. Maybe red currant.
Yeah.
Cranberry, red currant is kind of like where my my nose goes. Nature of the fruit. Underripe, overripe, just ripe.
Oh, I'd call it just right.
Yeah. Super ripe. Nothing underripe, nothing overripe. I think this is like perfectly ripe, beautiful fruit.
But because it's sparkling, it kind of has like that effervescence kind of feel to it that you kind of get off from you get from like a lot of.
Yeah, you're getting the actual like the CO2 kind of gassy kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. God, this camera is pissing me off. And then any herbaceous, any herbal, any savory stuff?
No.
Yeah, not a whole lot to me either. And then spice, rockiness. You know what?
I don't think so.
I actually get a little bit of savory here. There's a little bit of savory that I do get. Also very typical of Lambrusco. I mean, most of Lambrusco is just because they ripen the shit out of their grapes and they extract a lot of
I could see the savory kind of on there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of like sage, maybe some sort of herbal kind of thing going on here. But besides that, there's some sort of like an austere, like a stoniness for me, like a little bit of whetstone, something like that, but not hugely, not a lot. Any secondary?
No.
Yeah, this is a weird part. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is about 2017 with the 7+ years of lease aging. Yet, like I'm not getting huge ton of bottle in it. Like this is so fresh for me that like I think there's got to be some sort of an error on the print. I mean, I can't imagine they'll put like a different label on it, but yeah, like I don't understand.
Yeah, it's a little weird though, but also like like with a red, it's so uncommon to.
Yeah, I mean it's true. You don't see a lot of red at like
maybe we're a little biased.
Yeah,
but,
I mean this is if the texture said this is 21 months. That I believe. Like I can believe that this is 21 months, and then maybe the rest of it was like a little bottle aging in the cellar. That I can believe. But like 7+ years, like that's a lot. That's a lot. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some sort of chemical thing that I don't understand where that all that.
All the time.
Yeah.
From
Like anthocyanin, which is a color compound that gives it this color. what kind of role that plays in the autolytic. Maybe that mutes it way down. So maybe there's something that I don't understand. Because right, oftentimes, like you were saying, oftentimes like we don't see hugely highly autolytic red wine. We don't, there's some rosé champagnes out there, but we don't get something that
Again, maybe put the glass warm up a bit. It might come
Yeah.
out.
maybe.
Mine's cold.
But yeah, as far as our perception goes, I'm totally with you. I mean, I can tell that there's a little bit of autolytic lees aging on this thing, but not hugely. So definitely do get some like a little
I mean, the
brioche.
flavor,
little bread.
I love the flavor. That is super refreshing. But
Yeah. Yeah, not much else over here. Definitely no tertiary here. So yeah, mostly just kind of a faint, kind of a primary on the nose here. It's kind of weird how muted it is in the nose actually. All right, you get to pick the next person for the palette.
I'll throw it to Julie.
Okay.
All right, palette.
Wine is dry.
One's dry. City is like medium plus.
Say medium plus.
Really? I was just like, holy shit, that's acid.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's medium plus.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely call that medium plus. Any tannin?
I mean,
Maybe a touch
Yeah,
low.
agreed. There's a touch of a tannin here. I mean, oh yeah, all the skin contact, you're gonna get some. Lambrusco, all the Lambrusco varieties in general are Sorbara being the lowest, but they all have some tannin.
right.
They're tannin kind. So yeah, for sure. Little bit of touch, like I get a little bit of friction, but yeah, call this low. Alcohol.
Medium.
Yeah, call this like 13, 12.5, somewhere around there. 12.5, yep. And then body.
I have a hard time with body and bubbles.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
Yeah.
Especially things
Yeah.
like this where it's like so creamy.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Carbonated milk is not something we have a lot of.
not intentionally, at least.
Medium minus.
Yeah, I don't see this as like hugely body here. Yeah, I'll call this about medium minus, medium, low end of medium, high end of medium minus, somewhere around there. Yeah, agree. Moose.
I mean, I guess by like delicate, does that mean like the teeny tiny bubbles? Okay. Then it's delicate.
Yeah,
right.
The bubbles here seem very, very fine.
What would
So
you
like
describe as creamy?
So creamy is like if this was aged like a traditional method that has not aged for like super long. So like Cremant, Cava, like entry level Cava, where it's not as the bubbles are not as
fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of there's a lot of it because it spent some time at least on the gas that kind of melted, dissolved into the solution quite a bit, so it comes out a lot. So that's kind of cream. So again, this is I told you like how this is a lot of this is just a kind of like a lingo signal that we fucking somms and wine professionals send to each other. Like we say cloves, cinnamon. We're not really saying there's clove and cinnamon here. We're just saying that there's new oak present on this wine.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing here. Right? Like if they're saying delicate, talking about champagne, some sort of traditional method that's aged for a long time. If you're saying creamy, we're talking about Cremant or entry-level Cava that hasn't been is maybe traditional method but not aged for a long time, or like a Charmat method. It's basically what we're trying to like communicate with each other, really like saying Charmat method.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Flavor intensity.
I mean, it's got flavor. Like,
way more expressive than on the
Yeah.
palate than it is on the nose.
yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like medium to medium plus.
Yeah, I'll
Medium
call this
plus.
anywhere between medium, medium plus. Depending on your temperature of the wine, probably will change. But yeah, I'll call this like lower than medium plus, higher than medium for sure. Do you confirm whatever little faint hints of things that people call that? Or is there anything else that speaks out at you?
I mean, I definitely get the cranberry for sure.
Yeah,
Cranberry, strawberry. Yeah, very red fruit.
yeah.
I mean,
Anything above red fruit, like floral, citrus, grapefruit, anything like that?
I mean, I'm trying to tell if I get any floral or like like citrus.
I don't think so. At least I don't.
Yeah, I mean, it may be just the color, you know, I could be convinced maybe there's a little bit of that like rose, some sort of like flowery thing going on here. But to me, I keep going back to the orange peel. There, particularly on the palate, I definitely get it on the palate. But there's definitely some orange peel going on here. Orange peel, but outside of that, it's all the red fruit that you guys mentioned, like really bright poppy, like red currant, cranberry, not like raspberry, but like or cherry, but this is more of like that cranberry. Cranberry is like a very different kind of red fruit, if you ask me. Like really high acid, tart, bright kind of red fruit. And to me, like there's so much like cranberry relish vibe here for the whole thing. There's that like the orange pith, orange peel,
Yeah.
and then cranberry and red currant for sure. Nature of the fruit.
It's ripe.
Right? Fresh. Yep.
Yeah.
Any herbaceous, herbal, any savory component?
Mm,
Not that I can, I mean, there's
Not
like,
a whole lot.
nah, there's not a lot. Like,
No, yeah, I agree. I thought I got some more on the nose, honestly, but on the palate, yeah, I'm getting really kind of that all that cranberry, orange peel pith kind of a thing going on here. Not much of the herbaceous herbal. I got a little bit of it on the nose, but not so much. Any rockiness, spice?
I mean, there's maybe, I mean, there's some minerality there,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
guess minerality. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess I'm like a chalky kind of like a minerality here
Yeah.
for sure.
yeah, I don't get
Sorry, were you saying something there?
oh, just that I don't get any like spices though.
Yeah. No spices. Any secondary?
Again, like I'm looking for it. Like maybe there's a touch of biscuitiness, like, but that
Yeah.
might just be the carbonation. Like I can't really put my finger on anything here.
Agreed. I actually get more on the palate than I do on the nose. I mean, that's across the board. I just get more on the palate than I do on the nose, but I do get a little more that kind of biscuity, kind of brioche bread, the autolytic here. But again, not 7+ year autolytic. Like, you know, we've had wines with like less than 5 years autolytic that gave more autolytic than this wine, you know? And I really don't think like it was a mistake or they're lying about it. I really do think there's some sort of a chemical thing. I think I'm gonna have to go down rabbit hole, but something chemically about the amount, kind of what we're talking about earlier at the very beginning of Margaret and Kyler were saying, like there's a lot of color here, right? Like with a high amount of anthocyanin, what does it do chemically?
Right.
With glycolysis and all that. I think there's something that happens there because there's no way that this, like, if you got this blind, there's no way you would think that this is 7.5 years old or has spent 7.5 years on the lease.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way. But yeah, I do. But having said that, I do get a little bit of autolytic flavors here. Definitely more than I did on the nose. So yeah, I just want to note that.
Yeah.
Any tertiary?
No.
No. Yeah, to me, this is still so fresh. Mostly kind of what you guys pointed out, that red currant, cranberry. To me, I keep going with this orange peel thing.
Yeah, there's a little like a little bit of citrus, like a
Yeah. The chalky minerality with autolytic kind of a complexity throw on top. Excellent. Finally, the length.
like medium plus, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so strange. How could it be so muted on the nose, yet expressive on the palate? And it's got, I would agree, I'll call this medium plus length as well. The flavors actually do stick around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Strange. I don't remember this wine being this muted on the nose, but I don't know. Maybe for you biodynamic believers, maybe we're on a, some off biodynamic calendar day today. I don't know.
Maybe it was just the harvest moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Conclusion. Take it home for us. How good is this wine? Justify it. Would you age it?
It is. We said it was medium plus acidity. Medium plus acidity.
That's not it.
Okay, shut up.
Intensity.
Intensity.
Yeah.
Was
What
medium.
would you call intensity? On the nose, we called it what? Like high end, medium, minus, lower in the medium, somewhere in there, right? For the intensity, I'll call it medium, but yeah, lower in the medium. But on the palate, we called it medium plus, right?
Yeah.
So combining those two, you're getting somewhere in the medium, right? Somewhere in the medium minus a medium plus with us. So intensity, let's call that medium. Complexity. What you call complexity?
I mean, there was some secondary, like a touch. It had some citrus, maybe a touch of floral, red fruit. So like medium.
Yeah. That's what I'll say too. I'll probably call it, if I had to choose between anything, I'll probably say medium, but maybe high in the medium. But yeah, medium. Length, we called it
Medium plus.
medium plus. So we're talking about two mediums and a one medium plus. So we're landing us on the kind of a medium good quality level right now.
But I feel like I feel like it gets extra credit for having bubbles and being fun.
Yeah, it's also,
No, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how it should.
it's also delicious. So I would say very good.
Yeah, I mean, it is just outright delicious, right? Like it's just so easy, pleasing to the palate and all of that. But again, if you're using this grid as a thing to, assess a quality, then we're closer to good than it were to very good. So let's call it good for now. Again, I don't remember the nose being this muted. When I had it, like definitely. Also, the wine, we didn't open it right away, so maybe this does need some little bit of air for it to open up. But yeah, again, I don't remember this wine being this muted on the nose. So if you have some wine left, maybe try it tomorrow. Otherwise, whatever. Now,
Sorry, we took Julie's turn. I didn't see that anybody else had joined. I thought it was just I can only see the podcast. And then I was like, oh, I guess Joe has a cute nickname for me now. We're going Julie.
Yeah. I let it ride. It took me a few seconds to realize, like, Julie, you're off the hook tonight. Next time though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming for you, Julie. You're off the hook this week. All right. Would you age this one?
So you could, but it's like, this is a 2017, so it's already got 8 years on it. It's still super fresh.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do here. Like, you could age it. I don't know what would happen to it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll definitely lose some of this like freshness, and then you'll pick it up on the other side with some of the non-fruit things. Um, yeah, this is a hard one. This is a weird one to call because, like you said, it's already got 8 years of age on it. But honestly, there's something freaky about this wine. Like, how is this 8 years old and tastes this fresh, right? Like, no autolytic.
What I feel like I would worry about is like, yeah, the autolytic is so muted. Like, what if the freshness just disappears and there's not really any?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Had this been more autolytic and there's a lot more brioche, like easy, bready kind of quality to it, then that could be the kind of the savory component that carries the wine forward as long as even if the we lose some of the fresh fruit, but develops other things. But because it's not there, like only thing that this makes this wine really delicious right now is the freshness, right? Like it's youthful, it's fresh, it's ripe. So if we're to lose that, I just don't know it would necessarily be more delicious, or maybe more autolytic will come out. Who knows? But I would say my thing is I don't think this wine's going to fall apart anytime soon, given the level of acid. It does have a touch of tannin on there as well. But I would say drink this now. I can't imagine this being more delicious with aging, honestly. I really like the freshness of it, is what I really like about it. So, but yeah, I don't think it's going to fall apart anytime soon. This probably won't fall apart in terms of when I say fall apart, meaning like all the fresh fruit that we have, primary fruit, will just completely tire out and everything will become raisins anytime in the next 5 years. Knowing how well this has kept in 8 years, maybe it can even go longer than that, 8. But in terms of enjoyableness, deliciousness, I think that this freshness is what makes it really delicious. So I'd say drink it now. Drink it over the next 5 years. This is what my call would be. All right. Any questions? See, this wine threw me off that with the fucking tech sheet, or not tech sheet, but what the disgorgement date, 7.5 years. That's crazy. I have a hard time believing it. But anyways, did you guys like the one, by the way? Seems like everybody liked the one. Yeah, and but also to me,
chuggable for fall. It's like
yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, this is
refreshing. Like it's like a great.
Yeah, this bottle is like made for Thanksgiving table. Yeah. Like it will go well with everything on that table. It's got so much acid; it will cut through a lot of that richness. It's perfect. And quite frankly, like I said, right? Like we're tasting these in the order that I would open them. Like if you are anyone like me, I usually do like really nice breakfast Thanksgiving morning because I know that's the only meal that I'm really gonna have until I eat later. So if you want to do like brunch and like pop this open, I think it'd be fantastic with brunch. But yeah, I think this is, if you're gonna drink a sparkling Thanksgiving table, I think this is a fantastic choice. So that's what I think. All right. By the way, sorry, Tyler, Margaret, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say wine's very good, and we were just discussing how because we're not going anywhere this year for the first time in a long time. So we have our 3 kids who are young and will be crazy on Thanksgiving. But we just literally spend the day starting with this bottle and it's working our way all the way through the day with the 4 bottles of wine.
That's literally what
That's what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess it's our first Thanksgiving back here here in DC. So I'm like, oh, we could actually just like start right off the bat, and this is a great breakfast wine. Like this is very fresh and delicious to wake you up in the morning. Like
precisely, all that acid just kind of perks you up. Yeah, let's get you going. It's great.
Perfect.
That's what I'll do. Excellent. Just out of I mean, we just talked about whether this tech sheet is really that accurate, but on the tech sheet at least, just to help you calibrate your palate, this is 5.5 grams per liter of dosage. So there's an added sugar of 5.5. So this is what 5.5 kind of tastes like. But honestly, like to me, this seems you can tell there's a little bit of a dosage, like a sugar adjustment here, but like this tastes way less than that, honestly, just because the acid is so high. So anyways, let's play everybody's favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying this on a retail shelf? 2017, 8 years of age, world-class Lambrusco producer. Wines are in like Michelin-star restaurants. But also, this is not their like highest end of wines. This is kind of like mid-tier, mid to entry tier. Yeah, how much do you think this wine would be on a retail shelf? $28, $30. Anyone else? All right. On the retail shelf, this wine would be $28. So for under $30, I think this is fucking banger for an 8-year-old sparkling wine. And this is one of the things that I love about this producer is that all their wines just way over deliver for the price range. So here we go. Here we go. Any questions?
So you mentioned there's 60 varieties of Lambrusco earlier.
60.
How many producers are there? There's some just like there's like a producer and they have their own varietal. Like, how does that even?
Yeah, I don't even know how many producers there are, but yeah, at least in terms of Lambrusco, what they're legally allowed to put in Lambrusco, there are 60 varieties that are allowed.
I just assume there's like some people are like, yes, we are our own variety, and we're the only vineyard that makes it. But maybe not.
No, I mean in general, they really stick with like honestly, most Lambrusco you're gonna come across on the market is one of those 3 varieties that I mentioned: Salamino, Casparosa, and Sorbara. But if they were to do other, it's like minor blending percentages just to throw it in there. And quite frankly, the way I'm sure, and this is the way it is in many parts of different wine regions in the world, is that it's probably just a bunch of grapes that grew wildly in that region, and then it was like a field blend. Like Lambrusco was a field blend of all those grapes, and tradition, especially in an old country like Italy, tradition always wins out. So they're just like, oh fuck it, gotta keep all of it. So
Interesting.
But that whole like DOCG thing that I was telling you about, like it's such an Italian thing. Like in the 90s, I don't know if you guys ever paid attention to this, but so if you ever heard of Super Tuscan, it's like the Tuscany wines that are made. They planted a lot of international varieties, so Cabernet, Merlot, Bordeaux varieties essentially. Mixed it with the Sangiovese, blended with Sangiovese. So they created this whole category of wines called Super Tuscan. And they got really popular because this is like the 80s, 90s, the Robert Parker era. That style of wines were just super popular globally speaking. So they just caught on like wildfire, and everybody wanted to make Super Tuscan. Even Tuscany producers, Chianti producers wanted to make some of them. So like the Chianti size, like the Super Tuscan area, like doubled in size in like 5 years. Just so that they can put, or the Chianti region doubled in size in like 5 years, just so that all these people can put Chianti on the label, because they knew that internationally everybody recognized Chianti, right? So they can put Chianti on their label, even though it has nothing to do with the Chianti. So like shit like that, like it's just like such an Italian thing. Like it's happened over, like that also happened in Etna and Sicily as well. I mean, just to be fair, French do a lot of this shit too, but like Italians are just notorious for like just fucking around with the lines of the wine region and just like, oh, willy-nilly just like increase money because they want to pay for it, it's just wild. So I know I'm gonna get some fucking hate mail from Italians after this episode. But,
I've never heard of Super Tuscan, but now I'm really excited. I feel like maybe that's going to be my Halloween costume.
There was like an international like prosciutto scandal, like not that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Exactly. Like, I mean, it's just wild. Italians be wild, man. I'm telling you.
Was it actually just like Oscar Mayer salami or something? And they were like
changing the label of like pigs that were not properly aged to label them.
Yeah. Yeah, it just like didn't follow the actual regulations, but yeah.
Yeah, I got a bottle of like Sassicaia for Christmas a couple of years ago.
Yeah, there you go.
And it was right around like the time, like a year or so later, it came out that some sort of Italian gangsters were bootlegging Sassicaia with like, just putting like shit into the bottles and reselling it. And I just kind of just kind of emailed the importer like, how do I know my bottle is genuine? And the fucking guy called me, like the importer for Sassicaia called me first. He's like, I assure you, sir, that this is Providence is perfect. I was like, all right, I was just checking, I was just reading this article.
Sounds about right.
Italian shit. They found out about it just because like a couple of crates of the fake shit like fell off a truck, like literally, and like people are like, what is this?
Yep. Doesn't surprise me. There's so not next month, but the month after. So not November, December, we're gonna do a Puglia box, so Southern Italy. There's one particular bottle in there that straight up looks like a fucking Godfather wine, like somebody from the family made it. Like label looks like a family wine, like the mafia wine. It's 16%, by the way. It is all black label. I mean, it is fucking wild.
It comes with a finger in it.
Yeah, exactly. There's probably some blood in it for sure. Yeah. And also the name of the producer is Fatalone. It's just like, what? Really? Like, I couldn't make this shit up. Like, wow. Anyways, how's everyone doing? Besides Joe getting furloughed.
Dan's furloughed too.
Dan's furloughed, yeah, of course. Fucking hell.
Time on our hands.
I mean, is it?
I got my first skinny paycheck today. I'm actually talking to some coworkers about it. Like, what?
That's so wild. And Dan, I assume you're also not getting paid.
No.
What's that? Yeah.
No, I was asking Dan that he was also not getting paid, but yeah. Yeah, it's fucking wild, dude. It's wild. How's I don't know, is it like, is everything dead? Nobody's really going out and everything's shutting down? Or is it more like, oh, fuck it, like the world's coming to an end, we're laid off, we're just gonna go?
Well, I mean, it's kind of been dead for a long time,
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I feel like it's like this like shutdown does feel a little bit different than others because it's like everybody's been either been fired or has their jobs threatened, for the last 9 months. And so like it's not, I mean, it's like, yeah, like you can't go to the Arboretum now, but like, it's already been
That's why Arboretum is closed too.
or whatever, for the last, since January. So I don't know.
When is the revolution coming? Also, before we get further into it, let me just turn off the recording.